MTI Investment is investing, this time in a new East African company called Chanzi. And with me here today, standing beside me, I have Pontus Engström. You are CEO of MTI Investment. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Nice to be here.
Joining us today on link from East Africa is also the company founders. It is Andrew Wallace, who is CEO of Chanzi, as well as Sune Mushendwa, who is COO of Chanzi. And I'll begin with you, Andrew. You are part of the management of Chanzi. Begin by introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about Chanzi.
Hi guys, my name's Andrew Wallace. Chanzi are an insect protein company. We take organic waste and convert it into protein for animal feed using an insect called the black soldier fly larvae. That's waste that would otherwise end up in landfills or rivers or streets. Diverted from that and converted into a valuable resource which we feed to animals.
And these insects, as well as the waste, is this something you import for a cost?
The waste is aggregated by a network of waste aggregation agents, companies. We have contracts with large businesses, hotels, schools, restaurants, residential areas. On the whole, the waste is free. You've heard the phrase, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Well, this is something that costs people money to get rid of, but obviously we provide an incentive, a financial income to dozens of people to collect that waste and bring it to each Chanzi facility. And once the waste is arrived at the facility, we of course let the bugs do the rest of the work.
Sune, you are operational officer. I thought you could also elaborate a little bit and add on what Andrew said. What is the sustainable aspect of Chanzi?
One of the main things we're trying to tackle here is sustainable protein. Most protein that ends up in animal feed now comes from soy and from fish. And we know that in East Africa and Africa, it's actually in the world in general, with the rising population, the fish stocks in oceans and lakes and rivers is getting depleted really, really quickly. So what we're doing is we're taking something which is waste, which would end up in landfill, and converting that into a protein source, which is mainly for animal feed, but also for fish and chicken. We're tackling the protein aspect of, or sustainable protein aspect, but we're also removing waste which would end up in landfills, which produces methane and is very bad for as a greenhouse gas. On top of that, the only byproduct that we're producing is something called frass, and that's organic fertilizer, which comes from the rear end of the insects. And in very many ways, this is a lot better than most of the fertilizers that you can buy in the market at the moment.
And Pontus, you've decided now to invest in the company through Convertible Low Notes of 1.1 million SEK. I thought you could walk us through the process that this has undertaken. Where did you first hear of Chanzi, and what is it that made them into a lucrative investment opportunity?
So we've been in East Africa since 2014, quite a long time, and we have built a big network. So Andrew, in particular here, was one of the first individuals we met. We've been discussing various opportunities around this business idea, but we never came to a kind of an investable concept that we could invest in. We looked at creating a site where we would come in with an investment, but it didn't quite fit with our investment mandate. And so it's been a process, and then I noticed that they took part in a US accelerator program and did very well there. And as a result, the company now has a structure and an investable model that makes it possible for us and others to join in. So I'm happy to be involved with this round together with other prestigious investment companies like Finca, International, ABI, InBev and their venture arm. So it's been a process. One of the things we need to do is get to know them and see if they have a kind of investable model, and it has grown into that level now.
Convertible low notes tends to be a little bit complicated. It tends to differ between company and company and investment to investment. Could you talk about this round of financing and what the terms are of the low notes?
Yeah, I think they're quite easy to understand in this case. We have an interest that's running at 7% per annum. for the duration of the convertible debt loan. And at the point of conversion, it's when the company does a qualified investment round of at least $1 million. That's when the valuation will be set. So our terms basically says that we can convert at a 20% discount. Should we for any reason not be satisfied, we will not convert, but our hope is and belief is that they will do very well.
I'm going to make sure I'm understanding this right. The convertible in the convertible low notes, it is you still need to pay for these shares?
No, so we make the investment now, and then it will be converted into equity at a future time. And this is a good structure for a startup like this who's growing, and they are founders. If we came in too early with equity, we would basically take too big of a stake. This allows now the founders, Andrew and Sune, to really grow the company into something really, really successful over the next number of years. And I firmly believe they will do that, and that means that their company will become much more valuable, and we are in it. So,
but in a scenario where they would convert into equity, how much would your share reach?
It all depends. The better these guys do over the next few years, the lower our share will be. But on the other hand, we will have basically, we will be frontline, we'll be already involved in a very successful company. And it's really hard to come across successful companies, especially in East Africa. There are lots of opportunities, lots of ideas, everyone is running after them. So this gives us a bit of time to get to know the guys, see what they can deliver. If they deliver really, really well, we will convert and we will probably invest more.
But does that mean more equity?
That would mean more equity.
I'll return the focus now back to Andrew and Sune. With the money now put into the company, are there any activities that you couldn't do before that you can do now? How will this money be utilized?
Good question, Miguel. So we're at a stage of our growth now where we're looking to construct replications of our existing facilities. Our model focuses on having a decentralized system. So rather than invest heavily on a centralized facility, we have multiple insect production facilities in different locations wherever there's a waste problem. This investment, this latest seed round, it allows us to construct at least 2 more facilities. In fact, those facilities are already under construction, and they will be added to our existing network. There will be a level of homogeneity between those sites, meaning they will be run in exactly the same way, the same metrics, the same inputs, the same outputs. And that's really what this seed round allows us to do, really expand to the next level of multiple sites in different locations.
Yeah, as Andrew was saying, for each site, we do need equipment. Although labor is quite cheap in East Africa, but in order to make things run smoother and faster, we have to invest in different machinery. You could, of course, import this, but we know the problems of importing when it comes to maintenance and the cost involved. So we have opted to build all equipment from scratch ourselves with our own designs, which is custom designed and built for our specific needs. So we are now working on different equipment for drying the larvae and for harvesting different types of grinders and improvements in the mechanized systems that we have on site.
I'll ask 2 questions, one for you each. Andrew, you have your mentioned expansion, and I was curious to know that, let's say in 5 years, how many sites would you want up and running?
Yeah, so when Sune and I first put together the roadmap for Chanzi's expansion, we broke our growth into 3 stages, and each stage came with a question. Question number 1, stage 1, can we grow insects and can we do it at scale? We did that. Question 2, can we do it at scale in multiple locations, different facilities? And that's what we're currently answering. We've already got a few facilities, and obviously now we're adding more, as I said, with the seed round investment. Question number 3, stage 3 is, well, if we've got a multi-location model, can we then roll that out continentally? And that's what we will do with the next significant capital raise, and we will expand across sub-Saharan Africa with 47 Chanzi facilities. That obviously makes a meaningful dent in the problems we are trying to solve. From a waste perspective, that's 500,000 tons of organic waste every year that we are sustainably upcycling. Not to mention the effect that the supply of sustainable protein will have on our marine ecosystems. So that's the ambitious goal over the next 5 years, and I do believe that we've got the right team and the right investors and the right partners to achieve that.
And Sune, you mentioned building machinery and equipment from scratch. I thought you could elaborate a little bit on the pros and cons of doing it that way.
One of the decisions we made very early on was to build equipment and machinery ourselves. So we saw the price tags from machines imported from the Netherlands and China and so on. You can get quite good equipment, but we also know that maintenance is a big issue. And we wanted something that would work with us, would work for Chanzi, irrespective of power cuts or the type of environment that we're working in. So although we do have a slight delay in getting production up because we are building our own equipment, it takes longer. But in the overall picture, we think this is the best approach. And so far, we're moving slowly but very surely towards a very good end there.
I see, but Pontus, I'm curious now about your growth prospects. MTI also holds shares in a number of different companies. Among these is Shambani Milk, who is a dairy company, but also a waste disposal company. Sustainable animal food that we see in Chanzi, sustainable dairy company, and also sustainable waste delivery. Are there now synergies that you can hopefully utilize and take advantage of, and could this potentially help all the companies grow?
Yeah, we are very active in all of the companies that we invest in. We take an active role. So in this case, actually we have one individual who's stepping in as an interim CFO. You know, financial reporting and keeping track of cash flow is extremely important. So we're taking an active role there. Also already seeking synergies in terms of the milk producer. Shambani Milk is a phenomenal CEO. I would like to introduce him to Andrew and Sune, and I hope they can learn from each other. I think sustainable milk production in terms of producing other products for the market is not yet in the local market is there, at least not asking for other alternatives to milk. They are at the process right now where 90% of the milk is unpasteurized. So just by processing the milk and pasteurizing it, you have a competitive advantage. So the idea of having other kinds of milk products in the local market is not ready for that. But there could be alternatives for export, like exporting, for instance, cashew milk or other types of products. But I think that's in the future. I think this will inspire our other businesses. Also, the waste management company that we have on Zanzibar, they are producing, they're collecting a lot of organic waste. Here's an off-taker for the organic waste that we have been working with. So hopefully that could be synergies here, that in the organic waste that we collect, that we will have someone there on Zanzibar who can take care of the organic waste. We're also investing in a company called TechBridge, and as part of the TechBridge, there's a solar energy company called Tsunami, and they're actually making units that you can use also in these locations for solar energy to power some of the equipment that Sune was talking about. So there's going to be lots of synergies, also operational, how you work on social media and all these things. So we are when we get into this, we back the entrepreneurs as much as we possibly can.
And to finish off this interview then, to shareholders curious about this investment, what more can you tell them?
Well, I think if you look at the stock market and the other companies that we are sort of competing for attention, this company now, MTI Investment, basically hits 16 out of 17 UN SDGs. This is MTI. By investing in MTI, we're finding companies like this that really make a difference in the world. And I think that a lot of our shareholders and future shareholders will start to realize what MTI is more about and the social impact that we're having.
Pontus Engström, CEO of MTI Investments, I thank you very much for your time, and I also wish to thank both Andrew and Sune for their time, and wish you all good luck.
Thank you.